least expect it, when we're least prepared, disaster can strike. And few disasters are as unsettling as an earthquake.
So it's important for you to... Oh, Mike!
My guess is that earthquakes are really so scary because you don't have any warning. It's the only thing besides a nuclear war that can really, 1 second you're living in a big beautiful city and 10 seconds later it's flat.
Every day the earth is shaken by hundreds of small earthquakes. Most go unnoticed. They usually occur along the boundaries of the thin plates that cover the earth like an eggshell. Driven by the heat deep within the Earth's core, the plates grind against each other on long lines called faults. When the plates find their motion blocked, stress builds up. Finally, the fault gives way.
Sure. Can we forecast earthquakes? You know, it wasn't until about 20 years ago, and actually the eruption of Mount St. Helens, that kind of triggered volcanologists and scientists with, to begin looking at what caused volcanic eruptions. And within the past 20 years or so, the scientists have gotten pretty good at forecasting when a volcanic eruption may occur. Unfortunately, with earthquakes, it's really, really hard to forecast. In California, they're up to about 5 or 6 seconds before the earthquake happens. But you know, that doesn't sound like much, but it's enough to stop, for example, the BART trains, or get people off, you know, elevators and things like that. A Cascadia subduction zone earthquake, that 600-mile-long fault, is an interesting dilemma, because if it ruptures from south to north, that means if you have friends in Eureka, California, they've got time to get on the phone and call you and say, you better take that rock collection all above your bed down, because you've got a couple of minutes before it's going to start shaking. And so scientists are actually looking very carefully about perhaps there is a way to give people a few minutes warning for one of these great earthquakes.
There was one man who uses animal instincts to find out when the next big quake will hit. Wendy Walsh reports.
October 17th, 1989, 5:04 p.m. Game 3 of the World Series is about to begin in San Francisco when the nationally televised broadcast is knocked off the air.
I'll tell you what, we're having an earthquake.
Right on schedule.
An earthquake registering 6.9 on the Richter scale rocks the Bay Area, killing 62 people, causing $6 billion in damage. And James Birkeland knew it was coming. His prediction was printed 3 days before.
He believes that the moon triggers earthquakes, quakes that kill many thousands of people. (1994), and Birkeland travels to Peru to witness that rare moment when the sun and moon perfectly line up, creating a solar eclipse.
In Peru, a large earthquake is called a terremoto, and we saw this great eclipse, and the Peruvian guide said, "I am so glad you were able to see our eclipse. We in Peru have a tradition. We watch the eclipse and then we wait for the earthquake."
Earthquake could be coming.
I have never experienced an earthquake that he successfully predicted.
Dr. Thomas Heaton is a professor of seismology at the California Institute of Technology. He says there's no way to predict earthquakes, and that Birkeland's work is hardly scientific.
Believe me, if it was such a straightforward thing to predict earthquakes by looking in newspapers, many people would be doing it.
I would have to call it jealousy.
James claims scientists like Dr. Heaton refuse to admit that animals know more than their machines. Birkeland was suspended from the U.S. Geological Survey for causing undue panic following the San Francisco quake. No government geologist is allowed to make public predictions.
My guess is that earthquakes are really so scary because you don't have any warning.
This geologist says he's 21 for 21 in his hometown.
It's really very simple to predict earthquakes, and anyone can do it.
Unfortunately, with earthquakes, it's really, really hard to forecast.
When the World Series quake hit, I was on the 7th floor of the county building. When, boom, the P wave hit. And for 2 seconds, I was elated. I got my quake!